what a freaking amazing chapter of One Piece this was. Oh my gosh. And the fact that it was chapter 850 anyway was going to be special, but the way that Oda played itself out. And we got answers to a lot of things, a lot of reveals. Some of it more obvious than not if you paid attention, but a lot of people predicted. And in this chapter, we finally get reveals. Again, this chapter follows suit for what we discovered last chapter, that the pacing in Whole Cake Island is going to pick up. Now, we covered a lot in this chapter. We covered different areas. For instance, so let's start off with the cover page. We see Smoke on the cover page. I didn't see Tashigi there, but I'm assuming they're still on the way that Vegapunk, or they could be there already. We don't know. And then we see Chopper and Carrot that start off this chapter. Now they're rummaging through the mirrors in the mirror world of Brule. They're traveling on Diesel as well, so that's kind of quick thinking, so they can quicken up the search. Was I the only thought it was hilarious how putting our Chopper and Carrot freaking the hell out of a lot of people? No. But Carrot, oh, did you see her face when she was peeping in on that one girl? I don't know if that was Amande was taking a bath or not, but she definitely freaked the fuck out of her. That was hilarious. Carrot for Nakama, she's definitely picking up on Sanji's habits. That's for sure. So real fast. But that being said, speaking of Sanji, we see him making a bento for Pudding, and now we know why we didn't see Luffy and Nami or Pudding in the previous chapter, because with the reveal we got in this chapter was too big for to not be left for chapter 850. So that makes total sense. I have to give Oda credit, because even if certain thing people have predicted, the outcome of Pudding, that still doesn't. It does do Oda justice the way he played it out. It was pure genius. But we can see Luffy and Nami, and Luffy's freaking out. He's trying to rip his hands off the wall. He says he doesn't care about losing his hands. He wants to get out of this place. Obviously, Luffy would completely be reckless. Nami trying to stop him. That's having no effect. But in this chapter, when you see what Pudding reacts and what she whispered to him, you can kind of understand Luffy's desperation, because it's something that I've said about this arc. Now we have a sense of desperation, because but the way that Oda kind of portrayed Pudding's character from the start it should have been obvious. But that being said, something that Luffy brings out, even though he's trying to rip his hands off the wall, he's trying to encourage Nami. I thought that's hilarious. It's just like, fuck no, I'm not ripping my own hands off the wall. But something that Luffy did bring up was very, very important and very crucial, I think. They can't sit there and wait for somebody to magically appear, because if they do, it may take too long. And that's something I have said. If somebody comes to help them out, it's got to be before the wedding. And that implies that somebody is going to show up to take out Mondor. Now, I have to give Sawyer 7 major credit for making the prediction. Once Mondor's taken out, the animals that are inside that book are going to go on a rampage, similar to Impel Down, and pretty much they're going to cause a riot, and Luffy and Nami are going to use that opportunity, maybe even the Straw Hats, to escape. But the way this chapter plays itself out, it seems more like there's going to be a conflict by the end between Luffy and Big Mom. There is no way this arc is not ending on friendly terms. So, especially the way the Pudding was portraying this chapter, and now Luffy and Nami are aware. No. So unless Pudding was completely 180 us, giving us a 180, no. And something else too. We find out, we know who's responsible for fucking up Reiju in the previous chapter. That's obvious. And we know now why Big Mom was so interested with the Vince Smoke, in this whole marriage with the Vince Smokes. I'll get into that in a minute. But we see, and so again, Luffy brought up the point. They can't wait for something to magically appear to help them out of the book. Again, it could be Chopper, but it could be Jinbei as well. I actually think Jinbei may fight Potato Starch. Again, I thought Potato Starch, or maybe even Capone, were responsible for fucking up Reiju, but that's not. We don't know that's not the case. So So Potato Starch is going to be left for, I guess, for the final fight of the arc. So who else could go up against him? Because Luffy's already gone against Cracker. We know how that's ended up. So the next fight that Luffy has, it may end up being Big Mom. However, the way this chapter plays itself out, and I've said this for I don't know how many times, but this chapter totally confirms the fact that Luffy will not be the first one to fight Big Mom. Look at the way this chapter plays itself out. You tell me if you think the Vince Smokes are going to lay down and let themselves be killed by Big Mom. No. Hell no. In fact, that was kind of foreshadowed in the previous chapter because they were going to do something to kidnap Pudding. And they kind of called it too because they said in case Big Mom has something up her sleeve. So they kind of got ideas that Big Mom could not be trusted. So, and now and this is something else too. Pudding kind of fucked up twice. One, Sanji overheard the conversation between Reiji and Pudding. And number two, Reiji, we saw in the previous chapter, she was walking. She wasn't fine, but she was walking. She's still alive. So either Pudding meant to leave her alive, so the Vince Smokes will be alerted, or Pudding's dumb as fuck because Reiji knows what's going on now, and she could use that information to inform the Vince Smokes. So I don't know. But then Luffy also mentioned something about Big Mom may come back and kill us. So they need to get the hell out of Dodge real quick. And then we cut to Pedro and Tamago, and we get a lot of reveals on that side of the fence. One, I still don't know why Pedro was back on Hokkien Island trying to steal a poneglyph. But with that being said, I have to give Pedro credit. I know I've been kind of hard on him because he seemed kind of suspicious, but he seems genuine in what he said about trying to his belief in the Straw Hats, more specifically in Luffy, saying how they're going to change the world, they're gonna surpass the Mix. I thought that was kind of cool. So, well, that being said, though, we get a flashback of Pedro and Brooke to the last time I should say to Pedro and Tamago to the last time they met. We see the roulette wheel, and all I kept thinking about was what the fuck happened to Jinbei. But we know how he lost 50 years of his life. We also come to find out that Pedro had a comrade. We know Peckham's was there, called Zeppo. Was I the only one who thought that's got to be a relative or even a parent of Beppo? Because that polar bear is dead. He lost 100 years of his life. And we know how Pedro lost 50 years of his life. In fact, Big Mom was going to take 60 years of his life, but Pedro says, no, I can't die here. So he offers to take up his eye out, and obviously this resolve impresses Big Mom to the point where she only takes 50 years of his life. So the impression you get after seeing that is Tamago may have gotten the better of Pedro back then, and that's the reason why he had to play the roulette wheel. But that being said, this chapter kind of motivates, this flashback kind of motivates Pedro to, he slices through Tamago. Now, I don't know if he's done or not. I doubt it, considering the fact this arc is only halfway through, so no. And actually, Chopper and Carrot's like kind of emphasizing the fact they need to meet up with Luffy and Nami and get out the mirror world before Brule wakes up. So that's a total shout out. So Brule's going to wake up, and if anything, this kind of sets up a one-on-one fight with each of the Straw Hats, which I said is going to happen sooner rather than later. Then we see Sanji trying to make his way to Pudding's room. Now, when he said something about the balcony, about sending the food up from the balcony, he also said something kind of funny. And Sanji, he said, it would be appropriate for me to spying on Pudding. Maybe she's getting dressed, or maybe she's running around completely naked. And Sanji, you had no problems spying on Nami when it came to taking a shower. So why are you so worried about somebody you're about to be married to? But obviously Sanji's a given fuck. He said, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be that much inappropriate. So, but obviously what he saw was something he could obviously didn't want to see or hear. But and did you notice Sanji's expression by the end of the chapter? Like he's totally done. And which goes back to what I was saying about disappointment in Sanji in the lack of faith he has in Luffy, because Pudding is his only ray of hope, and that's the title of this chapter, by the way. But now that Pudding's shown reveal a true nature, and speaking of reveal, we see that Radio's talking with Pudding. We see Radio's expression. I think that's more concern than we've ever seen out of Radio ever. But it's not much. It's not much. So I don't know if that's a total shout out to how strong she is, because if it came to a one-on-one fight, who the hell do you think would come out on top? Because it looks like that slime was the one that pretty much sucked out most of her blood in the legs of Reiju, because she was bleeding half to death in the previous chapter. So Reiju's Pudding's true nature should have been obvious. The way that Oda introduced Pudding to begin with. Think back to Fisherman Island when we first got introduced to Pudding, right? Because Big Mom was eating the subordinates, and there's no concern in Pudding at all. It's like, if anything, she's kind of bored. So, and then you take that what we found at the beginning, and then you see how she reacted when it came to the Straw Hats and Sanji. So there was obviously something off from the get-go, and this chapter totally confirmed that fact. Again, 2 plot points that help out Sanji. Why would you have one over the other? Why would you have both help out Sanji if they're gonna portray Pudding this way? So again, it's maybe true, Pudding's true nature, but again, something seems off, because why did Pudding leave Reiju pretty much unscathed? Because she's bleeding off to death, yes, but you have to take in consideration she's also still alive. So either she meant to do that, or she has something else in mind. So I don't know what's going to happen. But we know what she whispered to Luffy, because it was revealed that what she whispered to Luffy was, "I'm not going through with this marriage, because when that wedding ceremony hits, I'm gonna shoot the shit out of Sanji." So, and she also said she would never marry a stupid idiot like that. So and Sanji overheard this. So I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I have to give her credit, the way that he played it. So, and a lot of people predicted this anyway, even with Pudding's Goody Two Shoes act. There's something off from the get-go. So I'm glad we got that confirmed. We know the slime that was draining Reiju of the legs, I guess sucking the blood from her. I still don't know what's about. But now that Reiju's kind of, we saw her in the hallway, so I'm assuming she's going to meet up with Vince Mercs. And the other thing she said, I don't know why she was crying to Luffy and Nami, unless she did that as a way of showcasing the fact, like, I manipulated you in this whole situation just by shedding a lot of tears. So, and that's kind of true too. But she said something. Obviously, the most important thing too is the reason why Big Mom is so interested in this marriage is not just to unite the Vince Mercs and the Charlotte family, as we would have predicted, is so she can get her hands on the clone army that the Gemma 66 have, that we saw a couple of chapters ago. And to me, that's not good, because if Big Mom gets her hands on that clone army, she's going to cause hell on Earth. And I don't know if she's going to do what she has in mind after that. But then Reiju said, Reiju is told by Pudding, but by the time this wedding, by the time tomorrow hits at the wedding, all of its folks are going to die. So that, to me, the complete shout out. I don't know if they're going to be on friendly terms, but the Vince Mercs and Sanji, all the siblings are probably going to fight the Charlotte family, and then Luffy's going to come in, because that's kind of the way it's built up by now. But if you have some ideas of your own, if you think Pudding was telling the truth or being genuine, let me know in the comments below. But that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Amazing chapter of One Piece. Oh my gosh, 11 out of 10, easy. And what a way to close off the year of Sanji. Comment down below with your thoughts. Happy holidays, and catch you guys later. Bye.